So tell me, are you someone that feels like they can only be accepted if they look a certain way? You really criticize your body or criticize your behavior, and you feel like everyone's constantly judging you, and that spirals you into even more emotional eating. So if you are new here, welcome. Today we're going to be chatting more about external validation and the emotional eating pattern. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. So let's jump in. So this topic came up recently. It comes up a lot with clients, but this is sort of the latest example of how we really look to others to validate us and make us feel okay. And we're walking around feeling constantly judged and criticized by others. We look down at our body and think, oh, we don't look the right way. People are judging us. People are saying things, and maybe they are, but it hasn't always been this way. It's not the fact that you look a certain way that's happening. There is an internal judgment and criticism happening that started way before sort of the external experience of this. So let me take you back to where this began. So emotional eating is a coping mechanism, and this means that it's a way we learn to cope with discomfort, uncomfortable emotions, things that don't make us feel good. And this wouldn't have started yesterday or a couple of years ago. This usually develops in childhood, because as children, we need our parents and caregivers to help us move through our emotions, through our discomfort, through our stressors, to hold a really solid, safe container for us and to help us regulate ourselves. And when we don't have this, we don't feel seen, heard, acknowledged, accepted. We feel rejected. And so this lack of acceptance starts at a really young age. And each of us is going to interpret it in a different way. And it's going to be a little bit unique for each of us, but this is the pattern I see with clients. And because these are basic needs, when we don't have that acceptance, and at this very young age, we do need it externally. We need to be mirrored by our parents and caregivers. This is how we start learning about ourselves. And when we don't have this, it's sort of like this hole. We're constantly trying to get it. And our survival is sort of based on it. And when we don't get acceptance, we try to figure out ways to get it. So we have to deal with the discomfort and uncomfortable emotions of feeling rejected, which is, how we get into emotional eating. And we also have to deal with, how do I feel accepted? And so whatever messages we can sort of hear with our very young, mind that thinks in very black or white terms, we are going to pick up on. So if I act this way, if I do this, I'm going to be accepted. I'm going to be loved. Okay. And what happens is that version of us is not really who we are, because the version of us that has emotions and ups and downs is not being accepted. We're not being guided into who we really are. We start creating this version we think we have to be. And a lot of the times it's how we look, how we act. And so while we're dealing with this discomfort through emotional eating, we might hear messages of, if I look a certain way, I'm accepted. And you can think about your parents or caregivers, was that their messaging? In our society, that's the messaging. If you look a certain way, if you look to media, people want to be like you, you're accepted, you're validated because you look a certain way. But if you don't have that deeper acceptance, you're building this on a shallow foundation. You're just chasing what externally you think that looks like. And so you start emotionally eating, or, you start thinking, I have to look a certain way. And maybe you're able to sustain that. You can diet, you can exercise, you can get the right products and all of these things to kind of make yourself look the way you think you need to look to feel accepted, but it's not coming from a true place of expression. It's coming from a place of lack, that I need to look this way in order to be accepted. And so this builds and builds and builds, and all the time you're sort of going in two directions. You're using food to soothe yourself, so it feeds into your emotional eating, feeds into the way the foods you choose, the way your body looks, your health, how you feel about yourself. And then you try to manipulate that in order to get the body. And all of this is on the surface. It's not actually getting into the deeper layers. And the reason you're doing this is you're seeking that external validation. First from your parents or caregivers, then from your friends, then from society and everyone else. You just build this. You think, if only I'm this way, that's the only way I can get acceptance. And when you're no longer able to control your body or your emotional eating or any of this, a lot of the time it's only when emotional eating spills over into how we look, we start taking it seriously. And so, hopefully you've done that. You're a step ahead of the curve, because that gives you so much more power. But now it is affecting you physically with the food choices you're making. You see it impact your body, your health, your weight, your self-esteem, your confidence. It's all wrapped up in how you look. And yes, we can say it's because of this external sort of situation, but if we had those deeper internal needs met as a child, we wouldn't have been here, because if we were accepted and seen and validated, we would have had and hopefully modeled a healthier relationship to ourselves, knowing who we are, to our bodies, to our emotions, to food. We would have been in line and authentic, and we wouldn't have been in these coping mechanisms that are now pushing us into what we don't want. We're actually just seeing mirrored back to us all of the acceptance we didn't get. So we are being mirrored back what we feel is not acceptable, because that's what we learned. And so this becomes difficult. And this is where we need to understand that we've been chasing external validation. And yes, as a child, that's what we needed to do. Not chase it, but we needed that external validation. But now we need to do that for ourselves. We need to unravel this pattern, and we need to start meeting our deeper needs of acceptance. And now, as you can see, there are all these layers piled up. We need to get to the root of that. And it's going to be in a few key areas. Our relationship to food, our body, our emotions is very skewed. We need to get to the roots of that pattern and start resolving it and learning a new way forward that's actually connected to who we are. Because as you can see, we were just searching everything outside of us just to fit into that box to be accepted. But that box is not who we are. We need to actually connect to ourselves. And the funny thing is that when we actually connect back to food, our body, and our emotions, we shift from chasing externally to actually meeting our true needs. This physiologically shifts our nervous system and our body from fight or flight to rest and digest. In fight or flight mode, this is the mode where we have, we're more irritable, we have digestive issues, we are going to have inflammatory conditions. This can lead to disease. This can lead to weight gain. And there's, poor immunity. All of this is connected with this state. When we shift our nervous system to rest and digest, this is a state where we have improved digestion, improved immunity. Our body, our moods are more balanced. We're going to have better digestion, and our body's going to release weight and no longer needs. And so you can see this shift to being who we truly are and meeting our true needs. When we learn this new way, we don't have to fight and calorie count and go on the latest diet and be on this yo-yo. We are actually connecting to ourselves. This looks like we are moving to truly nourishing ourselves versus restricting ourselves with the diet mentality, accepting our bodies versus punishing it, and actually moving through our emotions and accepting them versus bypassing them. This shifts our nervous system. This gives an exhale. And so this is what is needed to resolve your emotional eating. And all of this is covered inside of my program, the Emotional Eating Evolution Program, the step-by-step, because this is a process. This is not like, oh, I accept myself now. This is a process of moving through these layers, because there are so many built upon each other to get into that layer, to start meeting your needs and to start creating this new way forward of accepting yourself so you can get to your healthy. So If this is of interest to you and you would like to resolve your emotional eating at the root, you want to learn how to give yourself that true acceptance, and you want to move away from chasing this external validation to actually feeling that ease, peace, and confidence in your body and around food, I'd love to invite you to find out more about the program. I'll put the link below. So if you have any questions about what I shared with you today, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.